of the Kennedy Law Firm. Really a lot of great questions rolling in tonight. Let's go ahead right back to the phones.
Hit 'em.
I believe John had called earlier and maybe kind of reiterate the question that he had. John, go ahead and tell us what you'd like to ask again.
Yes. I was asking about a reverse mortgage.
Okay.
My mother died, and she left a will in my name for the property. Now, my name wasn't on the property. I never owned the property. It was in her name, and she had the reverse mortgage.
Yes.
Now they gave me 20-day notice to leave after sending the payoff of $57,000 something, and I didn't have the money and no job. I didn't feel that a loan officer could help me. So, being that there was a 20-day notice, I kindly called up and told them I'm leaving the house. I'm leaving it just the way it was. I'm locking up the door, and I'm going on my own.
So what's the question, John? Take us right to the question.
Okay, understand my name isn't on the ownership.
Yes.
Okay, my question is, why haven't they contacted me in 10 years, and how do they, being that it's in my mother's name and I never had to put my name, can they sell it, or what can they do with the property?
I saw where you were coming, and this is where it gets
with me.
Yes, here's the dilemma that you find yourself. You know, the will leaves it to you, but mortgages go with the property. So my home, I could leave it to you, Casey, but there's a $100,000 mortgage. Yeah, you got it, but you're going to have to pay that mortgage. And if you don't pay the mortgage company forecloses, they own the property. And so that's really what's happened in his particular situation. You have one document that gives you the right, but there's a previous document that says, yeah, but you're going to have to pay this mortgage.
All right, Leslie on line 1. Hi, Leslie.
Good evening. How you on? This is my first time calling.
All right, good to hear from you.
All right, I was just waiting. I was watching him talk. What I'm calling in reference to, I had my wife and I, we had bought a home over 17 years ago, and both of us got sick, and we had to go on disability, and we weren't able to continue to pay the house note, and it went into a foreclosure.
Yes, sir.
And we went and did file the papers to do a Chapter 13 bankruptcy.
All right.
But after the bankruptcy was so expensive, we weren't able to continue with the bankruptcy, so we did not follow completely through.
All right.
And certainly we tried to, talk with the mortgage companies to try to make some kind of arrangements to try to pay our back monies plus our rent money, but they didn't show any kind of interest at the time. And basically we wanted to try to keep our home, but after the mortgage company wouldn't even consider trying to work with us, we just had to let the home go.
Yes.
Is there any kind of way that possibly we could try to still work out to try to re-get our home back?
The only thing that was available, and you did great, when you fell behind, you went and pursued the bankruptcy. And the Chapter 13 is what I would have recommended. And then even with that buys you some time. You can always file another Chapter 13 bankruptcy, but it's only effective if they've never foreclosed on the house. Once a house is foreclosed on, that's finality, that's final. It's, excuse me, called res judicata. Means the matter has already been judged. So for those who are not in that situation, pretty much, if it's already finalized and they foreclosed, that's the end of the story regarding that house. Now, if it hasn't, you can file a Chapter 13, and that buys you more time. It could be dismissed. You may have to file another Chapter 13. And really, these are really delay tactics, but sometimes people are going to inherit some money, and sometimes they're going to get a brother that's going to inherit some money and loan them. So all kinds of different techniques. But remember this, when they say they're going to sell it in the Hammer Falls, then it's over.
All right, happy to have a first-time caller. We really appreciate you calling in to ask that question. Calvin, are you still hanging on there with us? What's your question for us tonight, if you can hear me?
I would have the attorney, if you got hurt on a job and you got a injury on being hurt on the job,
Yes?
and they take you get a lawyer, they take the case, and next thing you know, you go to the hospital, have your surgery and everything. But do they supposed to pay you for your act of suffering, acting, being hurt?
Okay, workers' compensation laws have changed. Your legislature now tries to say that the workers' compensation laws, they take a lot of rights away from the worker. So it's definitely different if you're hurt in a car wreck or you're hurt in a situation as a workers' comp. Now all those are set by statutes. And so it hurts the worker. When it hurts the worker, it hurts the lawyer. And so, all the big companies are always lobbying, let's do away with these workers' compensation laws so that we don't have people making claims against the company. So there's always a plus and a minus. Everybody says, well, this is a business-friendly state. Tennessee, yes, because we've had our legislature take so many of the rights away from the workers.
Jack, hi. What's your question for us tonight? Let's check.
Hello?
Hi,
Yes, go
Jack.
right ahead, Jack.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome. What's your question for us tonight? Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, great sports jacket. I love it.
Thank you.
A quick question. If I have multiple parties that want to purchase a home, what are the options?
Well, the options are, and it's great you have a lot of parties, whoever you accept that offer from first. If the offers are there and you say, hey, I want to sell the home to this person, you have a right to accept or reject those offers. And it's the same thing in the bidding. A lot of guys get out here and they say, well, we're going to bid this building. You don't always have to take the low bidder, because sometimes some of the companies have a reputation of being not following through on their contracts. And you can have someone who has substantial financial means and is going to pay cash, and another person's going to pay on time and has to go through the bank and get financed and take longer to close. I love lots of people wanting to buy the property, but who you accept, that's when you have a binding contract. It's called a meeting of the minds.
All right. And what's your question for us tonight, David? Thanks for calling in.
Yes, I'd like to know what the statute of limitations is as far as a will, if you felt like there was some type of fraud.
Well, here you go. That's pretty interesting. A lot of times there is no statute of limitations on fraud. So I would certainly go and talk to a lawyer about that. For instance, if someone forged a will and then we've later got the evidence that, because you see the theory of the law, it's against public policy to defraud or to deceive anyone. So if someone got the farm and they forged a document and it's later clearly that it was forged, man, the court needs to step in, a court of equity or whatever, and take that away and set the record straight. Awesome. If you didn't, thieves would take everything this country has.
All right. Maybe.
Well, I know that it wasn't that the will was forged or anything, because I finally ended up getting a copy of the will.
Okay.
And this had to do with my uncle, and he's been telling me for years, that he wanted to leave everything to me. And I just kept telling him for years. I said, no, I didn't want anything but your love, and you can do what you want with it. But
yep.
I had a family member that eventually went to him, and what happened was my uncle, I had no idea until July of this year that he had died of Alzheimer's.
Wow.
And so I had this family member that went up there, and I don't know, it's just there's a lot involved in this, and I just feel like it was all about money to him, one way or the other. So,
yes. Well, I always like to pursue those things. We have a doctrine in the law called laches, meaning that you cannot sit on your rights. And if you're just now finding out about it, you have a right to try to pursue that, do a little investigation, and people take advantage of older people all the time. They call it undue influence or duress, and they say, you've got to sign this will, and elderly people under that threat, many times signs, that is really not what they want. That's why the law is put into effect that we have to go through the declaration and actually go through the execution of that will. And you know, we've had them in our office before, and if it's not right, we're not going to do it. We don't want to take it on. We don't want the problems to develop.
All right, great questions coming in tonight. A lot of variety too.
Yeah.
On all kinds of different.
Well, most people, you're only going to deal with one will contest in your whole life, and maybe it's your mother and father, and maybe it's your grandparents.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about what you do at the Kennedy Law Firm. And
yeah. Well, we do a wide variety of cases. Of course, we handle lots of car wrecks, personal injury. We do all kinds of criminal cases, both in state and federal court. The one thing I cannot ever talk about criminal cases without saying, don't talk to the police. You don't really have to. And if they're coming up there and they're saying, we want to talk to you, I would back up a little and try to get me a lawyer and let them go talk to them and find out what this is all about.
All right, well, let's go ahead and take one more quick break. Keep it right here on News Channel 5 Plus.